I don't know what we have here today. I don't know if it's a bicycle, I don't know if it's a scooter, I don't know if it's an electric moped. But anyway, the thing is that this is the Kukirin C1 Pro, a product that, well, it's strange, but we'll examine it in this video since it's apparently an electric scooter with a very good range that can reach up to 100 kilometers with a top speed of up to 45 or 50 kilometers per hour. And well, as you can see, it has 2 seats for 2 people who can even, so to speak, ride comfortably, and then a cargo basket in the front. Anyway, it's a product that I can already tell you is interesting, but later I'll explain that it may have some disadvantages in markets like Spain. Let's begin with the design of the Kukirin C1 Pro, as I mentioned. It's a scooter that comes equipped with a central seat and a rear seat, as well as a cargo basket at the front. Since it's this style, we have a pretty wide floorboard, much wider than the typical scooters you stand on to get around the city. It's a floorboard where you can easily fit both feet side by side, so you won't have any problem with that. It's a device meant for comfortable sitting. The Kukirin C1 Pro scooter is just over 1 meter long. And then we have, well, about 1 meter 30, 1 meter 40 in height, approximately. You can't raise the handlebar any higher, so riding it standing up is a bit complicated because it's made for sitting. So what you're seeing here, which reaches up to my stomach, is the maximum height this handlebar allows. When the packaging arrives, the scooter comes with some parts disassembled, for example, the wheel. We just have to insert a pin and tighten it. Then we have to assemble the basket on the front part. We have to assemble a few things like the light or the front fender, but the rest is simple. Just put on the seat and tighten a few things. We have everything assembled, so it's something very, very simple. And then let's highlight the design. One very good thing about Kukirin, which we also saw in the scooter that came through here a few months ago, is its sturdiness. The truth is, it's a very, very well finished product. It doesn't make any creaking sounds at all, and that caught my attention. You'll see it now in the images. The mount on the handlebar is very, very sturdy. It has a system that tightens and must be unlocked by pulling it back. It connects the top and bottom of the handlebar and holds them together very well. There is absolutely no play in the handlebar. It doesn't move at all, not even a millimeter. As for the rest of the finishes, we can see a lot of quality everywhere. The wood we have on the floor is sturdy wood, and honestly, it looks very, very durable. Then the seat and backrest, for example, are well anchored with many strong screws. Honestly, everything from Kukirin looks very well built, so I give it a 10 here. Let me mention a few things we might come across. So I was telling you about the front light, which honestly looks really good, and we also have a rear light as well. In addition, we have dynamic turn signals at the rear, which I think is really cool because, well, you'll see it in the images. Honestly, it looks pretty stylish. And I should mention that we have 2 14-inch wheels, which gives us good stability. They're not small, unstable wheels. They're actually really, really good. Also, it's a pretty soft compound, which gives you a lot of confidence when you're making sharper turns and things like that. Speaking of wheels, both wheels have disc brakes that have really, really good bite. We tried riding with 2 people, each weighing about 70 to 80 kilos. And it brakes, well, incredibly. You can also see in the footage that the braking on this Kukirin is really, really good. If we crouch down, we see a front suspension that's fairly stiff. It doesn't absorb shocks well, but it helps a bit. We also have springs in the seat, making it softer over small bumps. Now, an important point. Was I telling you about folding it? You do it with this lever right here, so in the end we have a compact product. This way, in the end, all we really do is reduce the height. So for example, if we want to put it in the car or something like that. But it's true that the scooter is still a pretty big device. Also, it's quite heavy. The battery we have is very big, so you can imagine that the weight is around 30 to 35 kilos. It's not really designed for carrying upstairs. Let me mention something about the back part. We can replace this seat with a trunk just like on a motorcycle, so that, for example, we can carry more things both in the front basket and in a rear trunk. However, this unit comes with this rear seat, which has been equipped with this backrest. It provides support and increases our safety. A person sitting back here is comfortable but has no view, since someone sits very close in front and blocks all visibility. The scooter's maximum weight capacity is 120 kilos. That's just the theory, since we put two people weighing 70 to 80 kilos each on it, around 150 to 160 kilos total. And honestly, it holds them very, very well. Earlier I mentioned that the top speed could be between 45 and 50 kilometers per hour. Well, with two people it reaches 35 without any problem. Now let's talk a bit more about the electrical part. We have a 50-watt motor that has very, very good power, very good torque. Also, because it pushes super fast from a standstill and can even handle slopes of 15 degrees, which, well, is crazy for a scooter of this kind. Also, 500 watts is not that much. The 48-volt 25 amp hour battery provides about 100 kilometers of range at 15 kilometers per hour. It's rare for us to go 15 kilometers per hour, so what if we increase it to 25? I'll explain more later, since it must be limited to remain legal. It's going to last for about 60 to 70 kilometers without any problem. It's true that the battery is quite large, so charging it will take about 10 to 12 hours if we want to fully charge it. Of course, if it's only halfway, then we can have it fully charged overnight. Many of you may wonder how we manage if it can reach 45 kilometers per hour, while Spain's limit is 25. Well, basically, we have to do it from the digital screen we have, where we can see the speed, odometer, and trip. In the end, three basic pieces of information. If we hold down the speed up and down buttons and go to menu 2, here we can limit the percentage of power we want the motor to deliver. So if we set it to 100%, it's going to reach those 45 kilometers per hour, but I've tested that around 60% for my weight gives those 25 kilometers per hour, which are legal in Spain. But speaking of legality, there's a controversial topic here, which is the driver's seat. In principle, in Spain, a scooter can't have a seat unless it has a self-stabilizing system. Therefore, you should know that if the police stop you, this could result in a fine. Because in reality, what we actually have is an electric moped. Therefore, in many of the shots, you'll see that when I use it on public roads, I've removed the seat because I've used it as if it were a regular scooter. If we wanted this scooter to be able to circulate in Spain, we would have to register it and get basic civil liability insurance. Just like with cars, and then we would also need to have a license, like the AM license or Good Day car license also work for us. So it's a bit difficult to legally ride this scooter, especially if we have this seat because we can't remove it. And hey, if you want to use it on private property with the seat removed, just so you know, you can do that. Come on, are you seeing it in the footage we filmed on public roads? So I don't think there would be a problem here. Also, let me mention that from the screen, we can also adjust things like, for example, the maximum speed. We have 3 operating modes, in which the third one is that 25 kilometers per hour. For example, we can set limits and change other parameters, like whether or not cruise control can be activated. Also, how forcefully we want it to start, whether more or less gradual. You can configure all these settings from the screen, including choosing miles or kilometers per hour. Now, what do I think about this Kukirin C1 Pro? Honestly, it's a very interesting product. It's a shame you can't use it with a seat in Spain, since it makes city travel much more comfortable. With this seat, it's very comfortable, it rides perfectly, and I think it's safe. But, well, illegally you can't use it. But aside from that, if you're in your country or using it on private land or areas, the truth is it's a very interesting product, because in the end, above all, the autonomy we can achieve, how robust it is, the good power it has, and that we can carry it ourselves. A child in the back, for example, cargo in the front basket, and above all, for the price it costs, which to me seemed the most surprising. When the guys from Kukirin sent it to us to try, I said, huh? This product, if it were a normal scooter, would be around 400 to 500 euros. I was sure this one would cost 700 because it has so much equipment. That's not true. This scooter costs 500 euros. Honestly, I think it's an unbeatable price, especially considering everything it offers us for getting around in urban environments. With this product, we can travel very cheaply. If we charge it at home, electricity costs almost nothing. And moving a car, for example, in the same urban environment, well, covering those 100 kilometers that this scooter can do would cost us around 6, 7 or 8 euros. It depends on whether you have gasoline or diesel, but with one of these devices, it could cost us practically 10 cents to cover those 100 kilometers. So I've seen the scooter, and now I just have to ask you, what did you think of this Kukirin C1 Pro? A very interesting product, but maybe for a market like Spain, if you want to use it on public roads, it might not be exactly the product you're looking for. However, I know there are many countries where this product is going to be amazing and will sell a lot. because it can fully replace a motorized moped. And with that said, all that's left for me to say is if you liked the video, leave a like, any questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.